You know why that is? That stuff in there? That's the Lord on the warpath. And that's God's judgment against sin. War is God's judgment against sin here, and hell is God's judgment against sin hereafter. And all that stuff in your Old Testament is to show you how God deals with nations. The New Testament is how he deals with people. The Old Testament is about 8 books on how he deals with nations. And people, you couldn't read your Old Testament and believe that God's going to bless a country the way America has behaved in about the last 50, 60 years. Not only God that saved you, not only God the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he wipes them out. He took old Babylon and wiped them out with Persia. And then took Persia and wiped it out with Greece. And then took Greece and wiped it out with the Romans. He took the Romans and wiped them out with the Huns. He took the Huns and whipped them in 2 world wars. You're not going to mess with that book. That book is dying. That book is a nuclear bomb, a time bomb. It's ticking. Now cast out the bondwoman or son. Who's the bondwoman? Hagar, the Egyptian. He brought her back from Egypt when he came back. This gentleman right here, he's not a Palestinian. He's an Egyptian. You know who his uncle is? An Egyptian. They aren't Palestinians. They're not even Arabs. That fellow's an Egyptian. That's his uncle. You knew who Hajj Amin Hussein is? Of course you couldn't. You wouldn't even think of it. You couldn't find the internet and web if you looked all day and all night. He's a Nazi back in 1939 when Hitler started going, and he was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. And he'd been trying to kill Jews ever since 1929, and when the war broke out, he went to Berlin, and Hitler gave him a house on Goethestrasse, and he stayed there during the whole war and held espionage against the British troops in North Africa. That's Arafat's uncle. Is that Arafat? His wife's a Catholic. How many of you knew that? Let me see your hands. Isn't that strange? What's the matter with Americans besides just being stupid? Why do you think those terrorists hid in the Church of the Nativity? Why do you think Papa John Paul said about a year ago, to give Jerusalem to the Jews is illegal and immoral? How about that? This book says God gave that thing to that Jew for an everlasting covenant, and take that Egyptian and that Canaanite there and give them the boot. You going to do it? Of course you're not. This place over here, the American Embassy is at Tel Aviv. You know what happened back in 1997 when Slick Willie was in? Congress voted to move it to Jerusalem. Did it move? Of course not. God bless America, the land. All right? Careful, stupid. Careful. If you have a split state with Eastern Jerusalem Muslim, Western Jerusalem Jew, you ought to have 2 embassies there. An American embassy here, and 100 yards away, an embassy there. You think going to do it? They're not going to do it. When Bush came in, I think Bush is a Christian. I do. I really do. I believe that. Which these days doesn't mean very much. Carter professed to be a Christian. Jesse Jackson professed to be a Christian, you know. And Slick Willie professed to be a Christian, you know. Put women all over the government posts, and we got a bunch of queers in there. At least that's why Chelsea is so ugly, because Janet Reno is her father. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. All right, now see that thing there? I think Bush is a Christian, but when Bush got in, he said, the first thing I'm going to do is move the embassy to Jerusalem. You didn't do it. You know why? There's terrorism in Jerusalem. When you fight a war against terrorism, you know where you go? Well, the first place you'd go would be a pipeline to get some oil in case the Europeans took it away from you. And the second place you'd go, you'd have to come back to Syria. You say, why? That's the Golden Crescent where the drugs are handled. There are 2 places, the Golden Crescent, the Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle's over in Cambodia, Thailand, and China, so they get plenty of money. And the Golden Crescent is a crescent, like a crescent moon, right there. And it comes right down through Syria. So your Hamas, a terrorist group, and your Hezbollah, a terrorist group, come out of Syria. They don't come out of Iraq and Iran. They come out of Syria. How come you didn't go over to Syria to fight them? Scared to. Pussyfoot. Careful, careful. All right, now, one more shot, and then we'll look at the chart. We'll go to Isaiah. You just read, now we're in Isaiah 24, you just read that when God made that covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob about that piece of land, it was an everlasting covenant. Now, what God needs is an alibi to kill all the Gentiles worldwide. So the best way to do it is on the Jewish issue. Because he said to Abraham, I'll bless those that bless thee and curse those that curse thee, and your seed will become a great nation. And the other nations are less than nothing, like a drop in the bucket. So what you need now here, you need a good alibi to kill about several billion people. Now you got it. Because the covenant with Abraham was said to be an everlasting covenant.